Welcome everyone to season 12 of ME-Arcone. Um, this podcast is dedicated to conversations on alternative dispute resolution and its growing relevance in today's legal, commercial, and social landscapes. I'm delighted to have you today on today's episodes. About the podcast and institutional initiative. Me-Arcone is a podcast initiative of the Institute for Alternative Dispute Resolution in ADR, New Delhi, created to promote peaceful, efficient, and collaborative approaches to resolving disputes. As judicial systems across the world face increasing pressure, the podcast highlights how ADR mechanisms, including mediation, arbitration, conciliation, and negotiation, offer practical, people-centered approaches to litigation. These approaches have saved time and cost, preserve relationships, and encourage meaningful dialogue. Through conversational interviews led by legal interns, Me-Arcone brings together judges, practitioners, ADR professionals to share lived experiences and practical insights. The podcast forms part of ADR's broader mission to build awareness, strengthen capacity, and promote ADR as a first choice mechanism for justice delivery both locally and globally. This season is a particularly special season. It is season 12, and it has a focus on the perspectives of African practitioners of ADR in Africa, India, and globally. For the first time, the podcast creates a bilateral space for dialogue between African professionals and the Indian and global ADR ecosystem, bringing together experiences shaped by different legal systems, cultures, and approaches to conflict resolution. Through personal journeys, institutional insights, and practical reflections, this season explores how Africa and India can learn from one another in strengthening mediation culture, advancing arbitration practice, and reimagining justice beyond litigation. The conversations move beyond theory, highlighting how ADR is lived, adapted, and innovated across borders. Now I'll give a brief introduction of myself. Hello, ma'am. My name is Katlego Bridget Tlhokwani. I am a fifth-year law student from Botswana, and I'm currently studying law in India. And I am currently interning at the Institute for Alternative Dispute Resolution in New Delhi, India. Now I will give a brief introduction of our guest today. Today we are honored to welcome Honorable Magistrate Madam Dorcas Onam Makandere, judicial officer whose work reflects a deep commitment to justice that listens, heals, and transforms. Madam Dorcas began her judicial journey in 2012 as a High Court legal researcher and rose to the bench as a magistrate in 2018. She holds a Bachelor of Laws from Moi University and professional training from the Kenya School of Law. Beyond adjudication, she is a passionate advocate for mediation within the judiciary. Trained through Amani Communities Africa in partnership with the Kenya Judiciary Academy, she currently serves as Mediation Deputy Registrar at Kakamega Law Courts, having previously held leadership roles across the High Court, Environment and Land Court, and mediation divisions in Kisii. Her work extends beyond the courtroom into gender justice, institutional leadership, and community service. She's an active member of the Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators, serves within the Kenya Magistrate and Judges Association, is a part of the International Association of Women Judges Africa, and is a Rotarian and trained virtues practitioner. In recognition of her contributions to mediation, she has received acknowledgement from respected institutions, including the Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators. Today's conversation explores her journey and the role of mediation in shaping justice within the judiciary. Please help me in welcoming Honorable Magistrate Madam Dorcas Onam Makandere. Welcome, ma'am, and thank you for gracing us with your time today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you so much, ma'am. With your permission, we may begin.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Begin, yes.
Yes. Ma'am, how have traditional African dispute resolution methods influenced modern mediation and arbitration?
Okay. Because I have a wealth of knowledge in mediation, I will narrow my response to mediation.
Okay.
Yes. we are in Africa, and traditionally before the advent of the court systems, we used to have our traditional ways of solving disputes
Yes, of
through
course.
our village elders and the chiefs at the local level.
Yes.
So came up colonization, and when the British or the French people left, they left us with the official court litigation way of
Mm.
solving disputes.
Yes, yeah.
So that's what now people know as the best way of solving disputes. When somebody has a dispute at the village level, they want to rush to court
True.
because they believe that in the court system, that is where they're going to solve their disputes well.
True.
But now, over time, we've realized the court system really does not solve disputes, because you realize once I make my judgment as a magistrate or a judge makes their own decision, one party is happy and one party is not contented with the decision. So it end up not solving the decision per se, because not everybody is happy with the decision.
True.
So ADR has come up as an alternative mode of solving dispute, and the best model, if you ask me. And in speaking about Kenya in particular, we have our Constitution of Kenya 2010, the new Constitution 2010, at Article 159 2C.
Okay.
We resolved to have ADR as an alternative mode of resolving disputes. So courts are encouraged across board to embrace ADR as alternative mode of solving disputes. And one of the ADR methods that we've adapted is mediation, because we have several. We have conciliation, we have mediation, we have arbitration, and also we have alternative justice system, to mean the justice given by the local leaders at the village level. So
Okay.
mediation is one of the methods we are using to solve disputes.
Okay.
And we find that some of the disputes come in our courts. For example, land dispute emanates from the village there. People are having boundary disputes. You find family disputes, which we solve them in mediation. And we have very many. We solve quite an array of issues ranging from criminal, civil, land dispute, succession dispute, child maintenance dispute, save for the criminal, the heinous crimes like murder and child abuse cases, which cannot be through mediation. So any other dispute can be solved through mediation. And as courts in Kenya, we have embraced mediation as an alternative mode of solving disputes, and it's now being practiced across the courts in the country.
That is beautiful, ma'am. And I agree with the initiative that Kenya is approaching. And I believe I can learn a lot from that and apply it as well in Botswana. What challenges arise in
Yes.
resolving cross-border disputes involving African parties?
Okay, I have not had an experience on cross-border disputes per se, but I can give an idea of what it may entail.
Okay.
Because I've read a bit about it.
Okay.
Cross-border dispute entails different countries with different legal regimes, with different communities. So the challenge that we can face in that area of cross-border disputes come about because of difference in cultures. You find the culture, for example, in Kenya, and the culture, for example, in Uganda, our neighboring country, may be different, or Tanzania or South Sudan. So there we'll be faced with a cultural difference. And also sometimes the legal systems, they are different. And some of the laws that are in those countries are not the laws that we apply here.
True.
So I think when it comes to that, now we have to marry them. We have to, when you're going to do cross-border disputes, we have to understand the local community, how they do their things. For example, you can use the help of the interpreters or intermediaries who can assist to interpret to the parties when we have such mediation across different communities. And the legal systems, we have to understand the legal systems in those countries, so that when we come up with an agreement, it becomes enforceable in those countries. So those are some of the challenges that we may be facing with cross-border disputes.
Exactly. And how do cultural
Yes.
differences affect negotiation and mediation in African disputes? But I believe you've just touched.
Yes, cultural differences can play. Yes, it can really be a challenge, because sometimes you realize, like in African communities, majorly we are patriarchal, yeah? And some countries really hold on to those beliefs, such that some communities do not believe, like for example in succession, that a girl has a right to inherit their parents' property. So in Kenya, we have become a little bit liberal. Even in our succession laws, we have changed them such that every child has a right to inherit. their parents' property without any discrimination. But maybe if you go to a place maybe like South Sudan, I want to assume, I'm just giving a scenario, you may find that maybe in that country, it's strictly inheritance is strictly by the boy child. The girl is supposed to inherit where they were married from. So you find that when we have such conflicting roles and community beliefs that are so entrenched into our systems, it will require a lot of convincing for such communities to adapt the decision of a mediator who feels like girls also have a right to inherit. So it really requires a lot of talking, I think a lot of negotiations, convincing and all that, so that we can come into an agreement that this is how we want this thing to go before we come up with an agreement. So I believe like culture plays a role. We have to understand all the cultures, and some cultures are retrogressive in the current era. So we have to sensitize the communities on how to embrace the new mode of how things are being done in the world today, so they're able also to get rid of such retrogressive cultures and embrace the culture that enforces human rights to all parties.
That's beautiful, ma'am. And I appreciate the amendment in the succession laws in Kenya that is happening to include the girl child in, having a right to such succession just as much as the boy child. I think that's a beautiful initiative, ma'am. What modern dispute resolution systems learned from village councils and customary practices?
Come again with the question.
Sorry, forgive me. What can modern dispute resolution systems learn from village councils and customary practices?
Okay, the modern way of dispute resolution, assuming that, let me take the picture of the court scenario, whereby as a magistrate, when I'm sitting there, I'm strictly applying the legal principles to a dispute. I look at the legal principles and I render my decision. I don't go into the root causes of the disputes before me, you see?
Yes.
But now, since we have embraced ADR into the court system, we are able through mediators to the root causes of problems. And this is because you can find that most criminal cases, for example, where I'm sitting, you find that it's a criminal case, yes, maybe of assault or grievous harm, but maybe parties were fighting because of land. So out of the land dispute, I cut my brother's hand and I'm taken to court because of grievous harm. So when we take them to mediation, a mediator helps to solve the root causes of the problem.
Exactly.
He helps to solve the land dispute at home there. The village elders normally solve the land disputes at the root level, such that now, instead of solving the criminal aspect of the case, we also solve the land aspect of the case, and parties now go home and live as friends and live as good neighbors. So mediation is good because it helps the court now to embrace the new model of solving dispute, which entails going into the root causes of disputes and solving the disputes permanently, and everybody goes home with a win-win solution.
Exactly.
Because the solution is party-centered, as opposed to a magistrate-based solution, which sometimes leaves one person happy and another person disgruntled.
True. And I think the more we embrace it in the African culture, because I'm also trying to learn from, I've seen that the Kenyan mediation community is doing very well, and I would also like to take this and implement it in my country as well. So thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And maybe just to add on that, Madam Tokwane, if I've spelled it correctly.
Yes.
Forgive my misspelling mistakes.
No problem.
Aside from mediation, let me digress a bit to something called AJS. Or it's not the main topic here, but let me just digress a bit to something called AJS. It's called Alternative Justice System. Alternative justice system is whereby we use our local leaders at the local level, the chiefs, the sub-chiefs, and the village elders, to solve these small disputes between at that local level, such that when you find two families maybe fighting over land, or there's an issue about a marriage dispute, or maybe it's an issue about child maintenance between a husband and wife at the local level, villagers sit down and talk and they come to a truce. So that one is solved at that informal way at the local level. So we call it alternative justice system, which also we are trying to mainstream into our court system, such that We can give some cases to the mediators who have been trained in a formal way to handle those disputes. And also we can give them to the local village elders and chiefs to handle those matters in an informal way at the local level there. But now we cannot just send them those cases like that. First of all, these village elders are trained. They are given some sort of a formal training on how to handle such disputes in a formal way, even though it's informal, so that when parties go to them now, they know how to handle the case in a structured manner, but not in an haphazard manner. So we train them first, then now we are able to give them cases to solve at that local level. Also, we also use our provincial administration wing. We use the DCs, district commissioners, the DOs, who have been employed in the administration wing of the government to help solve disputes that come at their level in the leadership that they hold at that local level. So that is called alternative justice system as opposed to mediation. And all these are ADRs which help us to solve disputes outside the court system.
Okay, so basically you're integrating the customary practice that we have as Africans for the elders of solving the problem and integrating it.
Yes, we are now mainstreaming it. In fact, it is recognized in Article 159 2C of the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
159 2C.
Yes, of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the new Constitution of Kenya.
It's a beautiful initiative. And
yes,
what about
and it's working pretty well.
What about the recognition of the mediation settlement agreement?
The mediation settlement agreements?
Yes, as in after.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, please continue.
Okay. After parties have agreed in the mediation session, a mediator writes a settlement agreement, and then the said agreement is duly signed by both parties and the mediator, and the said agreement is presented in court for adoption by the court as a judgment of the court. It now becomes a full judgment of the court, which can be enforced by all parties.
Okay, then that's
and is binding upon them.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a very beautiful initiative to have, ma'am. And I've learned something that I believe I can be able to take back to my country and we can incorporate.
Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes.
If you have anything else to add, I would be happy to give you the stage.
Okay. Just to address the issue of cross-border dispute, although I don't have a wide knowledge on it.
Yes.
You find that now countries are trying to come up with laws to govern practice across all the countries in the global family. There is this Singapore Convention that recognizes adoption of mediation reports that have been done internationally. So not all countries are signatories to the Singapore Convention. Like Kenya is not a signatory, but our neighbor Uganda is.
Okay.
I would urge countries to be signatories to the Singapore Convention on Mediation, because now it will help parties to mediate on disputes across the countries, and it can be adapted in any country where the parties are residing. So it's a clarion call to countries that we should sign this Singapore Convention on mediation. Disputes, handling of cross-border disputes are easy because we will have a uniform way of enforcing the mediation across the countries
that is
in the world.
Definitely, and that is important.
And also it's something that I would urge countries to embrace. Mediation is turning out to be actually the best model for solving disputes, the best of the best. So I would urge countries which have not incorporated mediation in their constitution or in their laws to really do this, because you can see the benefits of mediation. If I can state the benefits of mediation just briefly, is that in our court nowadays, we have backlog of cases.
True.
And you see cases run like for 25 years, 30 years, like land matters and succession. They take a while to end. But when we embrace mediation, we find that cases which have lied in court for like 10 years, 11 years, just take like a month, 3 weeks or 2 weeks to solve. True. And they solve the root causes of the disputes.
Exactly.
You find that now the backlog is cleared from the court system.
And the relationship
is...
And
sometimes some of these cases... and the relationship is restored. And sometimes some of these cases just remain in court because of ego. It is just ego between the parties. They just want the case to remain in court so that they can pull the strings and they can control people with those cases. But you find that when they go to mediation, everything is sorted out and everyone goes home happy. Because sometimes you realize people do not know that there's a different way of looking at a problem.
Exactly.
I can be looking at a problem as a way of punishing my neighbor.
Exactly.
Whereas I don't know, when I'm punishing my neighbor, I'm also punishing myself. But when we go to mediation and we solve all these disputes and everyone goes home happy, it is really beneficial to everybody. If it's a land dispute, everyone goes home with their own land, they can till their land, they can develop their land without any hindrance. But when you keep on pulling, push and shove in court, we put injunctions in our land, we put inhibitions in our land. I cannot develop my land because it has a court case. So who is benefiting? It
No.
goes on to the next generation. The poverty of cycle continues, and no one is getting a solution. But when they come to mediation, we solve all these issues, and people go home, and the economy improves because that people can develop peacefully and grow the economy peacefully. So mediation, I propose that it should be embraced. It really reduces backlog in court, and also it's cost effective to parties. When parties come to court, they incur the cost of litigation. They pay lawyers. Sometimes they come to court every now and then for 2 years, transport, paperwork, and all that. But mediation solves disputes in a quicker and faster way, and people go home happy. So it is cost effective, and also it is a confidential way of solving disputes. Sometimes we don't want to air our dirty linens in public. Some matters in the family should be kept confidential. So when we go to mediation, we can solve that issue confidentially in a respectable manner, and people go home when they're happy. And the most important one is a win-win. So we get a win-win solution. It is party-centered, such that it's not my decision as a magistrate that will take precedence. It is the decision of the parties that will take precedence. So once you have a decision that you yourself you can own, you really live by it. You can go and live well by it because it's all been forced on you. So mediation is the best way to go. I'm a champion for mediation. As a mediation deputy registrar where I've worked, it has worked well. I have seen parties going home happy, parties who could not see eye to eye in my court. When they go to mediation and they come back, they are shaking hands. I really feel some sense of fulfillment knowing that through mediation, the world can be made a better place to live in.
That is beautiful, ma'am. And I'm happy for the initiative you are pushing for mediation. And I can truly see how passionate you are about it. So I really hope that this message can be taken by practitioners and countries as a whole to include mediation in their legal systems and reap the benefits that you've just stated. Cost-effective, win-win. Also mending relationships that the court system would only break for longer. So I really appreciate your work, and I'm hoping that this message goes to everyone globally and a new thing can be done.
Thank you so much, Tlokwane, for such a wonderful session.
If you have
yes, I think with time I'll know how to pronounce it with time.
Definitely. Do you have any advice for young students and practitioners like myself in how we can push, promote, or anything that you think would benefit us?
Yes, as a young upcoming lawyer, because I believe you're still a student, yes, I know you're being taught about the laws that you are going to apply in your practice or wherever you will practice your law. I would urge students to now also incorporate mediation as one of the ways they can help the community to solve their problems. So even if you go out there, once you're done with your law course, you become a lawyer or you become an advocate of the High Court of your country, kindly, as you do the legal part of your work, kindly also know that we have mediation on the sidelines, and it's the best way of solving disputes, and it will help you really to bring an impact in the community. So I want you to embrace mediation as well and delve deeper into it, get to have more insights on it, because it will help you greatly when you're doing your legal work as well. Because sometimes you'll find that a client comes to you with a brief, but you feel like you cannot litigate on this one. It will take a lot of time. You can mediate. So you'll become a lawyer, become mediator, and you can really help in solving so many disputes that will come in your hands or in your desk in the course of your work. So it's something I want to implore upon our students, our law students all over the country that you are in, and even across the country, the world, that mediation is coming up faster as the best way of solving disputes, and everyone should embrace it and embrace it fully.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. I've taken that advice to heart and I'll definitely apply it.
And maybe probably to implore upon our universities, because you're in the university, that mediation should be put as a standalone course in our curricula, so that when we are we are learning about the other laws. You also learn about mediation as a course on its own, such that when you graduate as a lawyer, and also you graduate as a mediator.
Exactly.
Yes,
Very beautiful, ma'am.
yes.
Thank you so much for your insight, and I truly appreciate your time, taking your time to come here with me today. And I truly appreciate the passion that you have for mediation, and I'm hoping the seed is sown today to many others so that mediation can emerge more in the world.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And with that, to our listeners, thank you for tuning into Me-Arcone King. We hope today's conversation encouraged reflection on the power of dialogue and collaborative justice. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much to the listeners and to the organizers of the podcast. We'll continue engaging more. Have a great time.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll stop.
Thank you.